Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Friendship Pearson, and welcome to my channel. It is Thursday. Happy Thursday, June 20th of 2024, 8:13 in the a.m. And let's say it together. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Well, people, I was having a discussion late last night, in relation to the migrant crisis. And yes, you know, it is a crisis. You guys, when I had the channel Friendship Pearson, I went to different migrant places, and then recently I did something about a month ago, and I'm thinking about going downtown Chicago to show you another shelter as well. But the city of New York is off the chain, as well as Chicago. But today we're going to talk about New York. In my discussion last night, I have come to the conclusion that not only is there an invasion, yes, an invasion, and some numbers have it as high as 52 million migrants have come over. I'm going to say it again. The numbers that I am hearing, which are contrary to our federal government, who should be the most accurate in counting, you would think. The numbers that I am hearing are close to 52 million illegals. So that, in the short period of time, 4 years, are you kidding me? That qualifies as an invasion. And there's even a better word for that. At the same time, I talked about the in-your-face insult and neglect of Americans who have been here, who have served in the war, who have been plummeted, who have just beat down by this crazy yo-yo of an economy. We can go back all the way from 2008 with the housing crisis, with these derivatives and how our government did not monitor the financial institutions. You know how it go. You got people still coming out of that economic woe moment, all the way to the middle class and lower middle class. We're talking about a straight up neglect and disrespect of Americans. Then I concluded, as I was talking, I said, you know what? This feels like an ambush. It feels like an ambush. I put in the comment section, I don't know any other way to put it at the end. It sounds like an ambush. Now let me kind of expand on this. The last 3 years, timely under the, let's just say it, coincidentally, it's happened since Biden has been in office. How many train derails did we have? Train derails where we don't know, in terms of the alphabet news agencies doing a follow-up to see if these trains connections have been repaired. How many chemical spills did we have in relation to the train derailing? How many towns were affected? Then we have the ships. How many ships have hit? You name it, bridges, and we're having one transportation. We just had less than 2 weeks ago, a whole mountain caved in, Yellowstone Park, I believe it was. I did a video on it. I don't know if it's Yellowstone Park, but you know what I'm trying to say. If there's a crisis in certain parts of America, the transportation is questionable. Put in the comment section if if anything has been affected like that, if there was a crisis, I mean, we're having outages overseas right now as we speak. Not trying to be a doom and gloom, but the conversations that I had last night, I brought up these things, and I made people think. I'm like, look, we got some serious situations that have been occurring in America and actually nationwide. But yeah, put in the comment section if you come to that conclusion. And when I say an invasion, you're trapped. If any of these cities, these questionable cities, you can't get out. The lack of resources in an emergency. And when you have, hear me, and when you have countries like China, Taiwan, China supplies X amount of goods and services. If I'm not mistaken, over 65% of our things that we take when we're sick come from China. And over 70% of the chips that we need come from Taiwan. Look, people, I gotta put it out there. This sounds like an ambush. And that's just one aspect. The other aspect is that we've got, again, up to 52 million people here brought over under Joe Biden's administration, where in some cities they're talking about wavering or removing the sanctuary city status and making them citizens. Now, what you're looking at is a former hotel employee in New York. Now, this video came out 2 weeks ago. I just happened to stumble upon it. You guys probably seen it, but I'm leading to something. It's one thing to come over illegally. Another thing, how are we housing them and the illusion of it? And keep that in mind. Neglect of American citizens, an invasion, and now an ambush. I want you to listen to a guy who actually worked in a New York hotel.
Well, they charge the city, the taxpayer, they charge them double. People think you're just paying for the room, but you're paying for the staff members. You walk into one of these hotels, and depending on how far you get, you can see a table of 10 staff members, but out of those 10 staff members, only 2 of them are really working. And the other 8 that are there, they're just hanging around, not doing the thing. And when I used to work there, I used to say, why do I need 10 people when I have 2 people only working? I need to get rid of some of these people. And the excuse was always the contract requires this many people. And it requires that many people, 10 of them, because they want to charge the city more from the taxpayer funds. So they upcharge anything they can. If they say, oh, we're going to offer them homeschool teachers for the migrants who don't want to go send their kids to public school, the hotel's going to charge it to the city twice as much. So they find.
Are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? People, look, at my age, I can reminisce on how the country used to be. The old saying is follow the money. I'm following the misery. Put in the comment section if did you know this? I'm following the misery. Here we have, and salute to this guy. I hope he's okay after revealing this. He's a whistleblower, I believe. No other way to put it. He's saying that of course, they had these contracts with the city, these companies, and they're charging double. Somebody getting paid. Now, I revealed this last year on another show about how we heard about right here in my hometown, Chicago, people making upwards of $100,000. And if I'm not mistaken, it was one person who was providing service made like $18,000 in 1 month. I mean, it's just ridiculous. ridiculous. And they're renewing these contracts. I mean, it's where are the checks and balances? And people, look, arguably, isn't this our money? Our money? Hotels are ruined, this guy. So you got to check out this videos. Former New York hotel employee says migrants ruin rooms. There's long-term damage. So let me clarify what this guy has said in this video. Hotels are ruined. They keep renewing the contract because they don't want the public to know how bad it is inside, the neglect. He talks about floors with no electricity, plumbing issues, you name it. And the example that he gives is that the illegals are coming in with air fryers, for example, and they're blowing the fuses and the circuits. Do you understand? Anybody in business, you know what that means. After a certain period of time, you got to call an electrician. Well, that electrician costs money, okay? Operation costs are through the roof. And he also talks about how migrants are coordinating themselves, not only in cities like Chicago and New York, but they tell the migrants, their friends and family in other cities, come to New York because this is the place where you're going to get the best bang for your buck. Look, people, this is off the chain. This is neglect. This is an invasion. And it's an ambush. This is America. This is the new America. And we're talking about voting for Biden. People need to be informed. And they need to understand America first. It ain't always what we do, it's how we do it. We got people who have been in line, so to speak, to become citizens for years, maybe even a decade. These people cut to the front of the line, medical, free housing. You should see some. When I did the research on this video last few days, look, a lot of them got on name brand. When I say name brand, I saw people in flip-flops like Versace, okay? In the films that I watched. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Now let me go to this next clip here. Here's one of my favorite programs, Redacted. I try to catch him often, especially when he has a repeat guest. Now he has J.J. Carroll on again today. This video is from 17 hours ago. And I said, let me put together another immigrant thing, because I want to hit it from a different point. This is what made me have these conversations last night, okay? And J.J. Carroll, who you'll see in this clip, he's got a documentary where he's going to all the major cities that have these immigration. The documentary is called Treason. Now this guy is a former U.S. border deputy, okay, patrol agent. I'm going to play two parts in here that I'll discuss it. Let's go to the 3:30 mark. I want you to hear response, and we'll go from there, okay? Listen to this.
People don't know that 50% of all hotels in New York City are contracted for illegal aliens. 50%. The rest of the 50%.
Did you already just say it? 50%. What if I told you this guy had a stat? He had a stat that was much different. Way different. You see that? Way different. I'm gonna do the math right quick because I want to make sure I'm accurate in posting this. Now that's 135 divided by 680. That's like 19.8, 20%. So this guy's coming up with, according to the stats, 20% of the hotels in New York, and don't quote me, you gotta watch the video, but I'm just going with this number here. If I change the number, I'm gonna look at my notes. But this guy, according to this stat here, and again, this video is 2 weeks old, 20% of New York hotels have migrants in it. But right off the bat, what did you hear from J.J. Carroll? Look, babe, look, this is crazy.
But there's hundreds of those. People don't know that 50% of all hotels in New York City are contracted for illegal aliens.
50%?
The rest of the 50%, yes, and growing. And then there was an article came out 2 weeks ago where they showed that it's supply and demand, right? So everyone's coming to New York City, everybody visits, go to business, but the hotel, the other 50%, because of supply and demand, their nightly rates are skyrocketing. So you're talking about billions of dollars of taxpayer money that are housing.
Did you hear that? It's off the chain. Let me go back here. I gotta go back to an introduction here. Watch this.
Nowhere is that more apparent than when you visit New York City. Walk into any random hotel throughout the city, and you might be met by a security guard who will tell you, sorry, you have to leave. And you'll say, why? This is a hotel. And they'll say, not anymore. That's because now it's home to hundreds of illegal immigrants living in these particular hotels. That's exactly what J.J. Carroll just uncovered in his latest investigation in New York City. Of course, J.J. spent 24 years as a Customs and Border Protection supervisor. He's building a brand new documentary called Treason, and it's taken him all over the country into the darkest recesses of the United States.
I found it interesting that I'm assuming when JJ get this coverage, I don't know how this happened, but look, just for the record, look, the purple and almost Tiffany blue. I wonder if this was staged by somebody else and he just happened to film it. I'm gonna say it again. I wonder if this was staged by somebody else. I could see if this person being over here down the line, but they grouped together. So I'm asking myself, I guess it's just coincidence that when he doing, because this is in his documentary, I'm assuming. Because again, J.J. Carroll is traveling around the United States. He was here in Chicago about a month ago. That's what started me following this a little bit more, in terms of, you know, because he's coming out with his movie documentary. But I wonder, is this just coincidence that this was staged maybe for another network and J.J. Carroll just happened to catch it? But let me say this to you. J.J. Carroll says billions of dollars are being spent in goods in goods and services on these illegals. 50% of the hotels, like he said, are housed by illegals. How is it that the stats that he's getting are different from what I just showed you and from the Biden administration? Who's right? 50%? I guess I would have to go there and do my own research to see what's really going on. And he says, yes, the majority of these are military-age men. Military-age men. He talks about how basically they get put on ankle bracelets when they commit a crime instead of going to jail. And or they'll get a cell phone, and that's defined as detained. I'm gonna say it again because I know it sounds crazy. J.J. Carroll is saying in his research in New York, and I have seen it here in Chicago, I know places where I've seen them, because it's summertime now, they have ankle bracelets on. So instead of being detained after they commit a crime, and put it in the comment section if you heard this, they're getting ankle bracelets or they're getting cell phones from the judge. And that's another coordinating thing that they're talking about between these shows that I'm doing the research, is that they're saying come to Chicago and come to New York because the judges are more liberal. Do you see what I'm trying to say? This is deep. Now, also what J.J. Carroll is saying, give you this picture. what this man is saying in his documentary as he's being interviewed by the gentleman here from Redacted. He's also saying that they have camps in New York. And one camp is so big, it's over 3 miles long. And it took $28 million to build it. But guess what? Ain't nobody in it. Listen very carefully what I just said. This guy is doing a documentary. I can't wait till it comes out. It's called Treason. And there are camps over 3 miles long. And he says from his research, ain't nobody in them. Okay? And I also want to let you know that the research that he's found out politically, they're trying to get policies set up, especially like here in New York, where they're removing the sanctuary city status and make them legalized citizens. Look. I was having conversations last night, and again, I have come to the conclusion: invasion, neglect of United States citizens, and now an ambush. And what's the ambush? Well, like I said, you've got different transportation the last 3 years. You can't get around. You got chips that come from Taiwan. You guys know what happened a few years ago when we had our problem in 2019. I had friends who couldn't drive their cars because they couldn't get a chip. You feel me? You can't get a chip, you can't run certain things, certain cars. This is the dilemma that we're in. This sounds like an invasion and a setup to me. Now, Trump is, as he's campaigning, you've probably heard what he's going to do. So let's hear it directly from him. He's been in Wisconsin. This is a day ago. And he's going to have his convention there. And yes, I do plan on going to that convention for a few days, like I announced. So let's hear it from Trump. What is his answer to this thing?
It was the week I left office. See the red arrow on the bottom? That's the only one you have to even look at. That was the last week in office for Trump. Look at the number. That was the lowest number in the history of our country of illegals coming in. But you can also add drugs and other things, okay? But look at that number, and that was done by Border Patrol. Look at that number, and then look what happens as soon as I leave. Look at the numbers on the right. That's the largest influx of people ever to come to any country. There's never been anything like this. And we don't know where they come from, who they are. We don't have any records. There's no way to check it. You know, they come from some country that nobody ever heard of. They don't keep records, and we don't get their records, and we don't know what we're taking in. But you know one thing, you remember the snake. It's not going to be good, right? It's not going to be good. When you let in a snake, when you let in people that come out of prisons for murder, it's not going to end well. We're going to have a lot of problems, and we're going to get them out. We're going to get them out as fast as we can. We're going to have the largest deportation. We have no choice.
What do you think? Can he pull this off? What kind of atmosphere will happen as because he's going to win. I just showed you yesterday the invitation that I got. He's already having a gala December 10th of this year. That sounds like a victory party to me, okay? And also a fundraiser. Take it how you want to take it. But watch my video from yesterday. I put it out there. People, think about the atmosphere. This guy's talking about rounding up. And again, I hit stats as low as 18 million, but let me, go, I want you to hear from the horse's mouth. I want you to hear from the horse's mouth. Listen to this here. You ready for this? Listen to this number.
Millions. 30 million people have come into the United States of America under Joe Biden. Prior to that, 22 to 25. We're around 50, 52 million illegal aliens in America. I'm telling you.
Did you hear that? People, 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 you ought to be, please don't break your TV, don't break your internet device, don't throw nothing. Look, why are these numbers so different between politicians and this guy doing the research? Should they be deported? Should it become legal? I'm throwing it all out there. What do you think? What is my audience? What do you think? What do you think? Even if you're from overseas, what do you think? And what's going on in America? The biggest influx of immigration anywhere on the planet. I am Friendship Pearson. If you find value in this work, please subscribe, thumbs up. Let me know what you think. This is the future we're dealing with. And we got a lot of anchor babies here. So when you talk about deportation, will Trump include anchor babies? That is, babies who are born here. Every time I drive around, and I'm not being insensitive, the average migrant, if I see 10 women, 50% of them are pregnant. That's the future. Do we send them back too? We got a problem. We have been neglected. We are being invaded. And at some point there might be an ambush, because there are videos I have not brought to you, but you've probably seen them, whereby there are people from America posting on social media that there are, how can I put this? There are things being dropped off in certain camps, whereas when the signal is given, they'll come against Americans. Read between the lines. There are things being dropped off in big cities, and they're trying to get the information out there, and people are videotaping it, and the information and the cameras are being confiscated. They don't want people to know that things are being dropped off. And that goes along with the ambush. I am Friendship Pearson. God bless you. I love you. Be careful. We pray. And I pray that Jesus comes soon. If you don't know him, it's time. When I first started dealing with Bible prophecy and the end time, I had no idea that this was an aspect of it. A deliberate social, economic breakdown of America, in part by bringing illegals over. A cultural transition to happen that quick is impossible. You have to acclimate people gradually. They don't know the culture. What they know is their culture. I'm Friendship Pearson. God bless.